revolution that has not been completed. Because if we don't do that, this country will literally go up and fire everything. So that's the options you face. And you must ask yourselves, what role do you feel that you can play? And you can never play the role of leading this. Understand that. No revolution in the whole world is led by people as old as us in this room. Revolutions are led by young people. Now, what is the genuine environment of an intergenerational conversation that can help that young people, that next generation, without us lecturing them and telling them what to do, or being the judge of what they do? Because then why don't you go and challenge the fact that Zuma has spent R1 billion on his education fields, and one lecture theatre that is built up, you can rebuild with 10 million rand. So have a sense of proportionality before we all get sucked into this negativity that students are all wrong. They're not all wrong. In fact, they're raising the right issues. Now, how they raise the issues and how they fight the issues, that's where I think us with experience should be there to help. But the first step of helping that I learned in the movement, coming out of student movement in '76, is when I went to the factories. I went there with my revolutionary ideas, and no one listened to me. And then migrant workers in the hospital taught me the most important lesson. Learn to shut your mouth and listen. Because too many of us want to have the answers before the question is even asked. So let me go back to the issues you raised. Black pain. Of course I understand black pain. Why do you think I'm here? Why do you think a generation of us who should be playing with grandchildren are here today? Because there is black pain. And we need to acknowledge it. It's deep, it's profound, it's humiliating. Why do you think students are against this idea of no criteria for free education? Because you know how humiliating it is to go and stand before a committee and say, my father and my mother died of HIV/AIDS, I have no money, can you please give me a loan? So do you understand black pain about why they're saying free education for all? So if you accept that as your point of departure, then you've got to think, change the taxation system to tax the rich. So you've got to understand what black pain means. And you can't do that if you don't live in the townships, and you don't go and spend your time there, immerse your time, things that we did in our time, committed class suicide, because we're all the middle classes. So our starting point is there's black pain. Accept that. That we didn't change the reality, economically or land or culturally, of what black people faced under apartheid. We did not complete the revolution because we stopped it in 1996 when they buried the RDP and they replaced people development with the tyranny of our rating agencies and macroeconomic stability. They killed that revolution of transformation in 1996, and we were all part of it. And we all kept silent about it. And yes, there were voices raised, and academics wrote nice books about it. But writing books, paper accepts anything written on it. It doesn't change the reality down there. That changed through organizing ourselves. But we didn't organize ourselves there. And so what? We swept it under the carpet. What's it come back? It's come back with a fury, which is justified. Now we can debate tactics. But I think if you're really looking at the question of how do you address challenges, this is how, maybe I'm coming from the last century about how we thought about building movements. Maybe, the first thing we asked ourselves is, what is the problem we are trying to solve? Maybe that's the question you should ask yourself. Why are you trying to solve this problem? With who are you trying to solve it? When are you trying to solve it? What are the tactics and strategy of it? Maybe that's where we should start. Because then it decides which side of the fence you are, because we are moving into an environment, we're not unique in South Africa, this is global. I'm sort of talking to young people across the world, the developed and the developing world. It's the same issue. The question of insiders and outsiders. And the outsiders are growing year by year. Even if they are highly educated like they are in Europe, they are driving Uber taxis. And they're working in precarious employment. in the hospitality industry. Because whether you have education or no education, you're still unemployed. Because what we've got to understand, you know, in our day it was pretty easy. I mean, you talk to us about, did we have an ideology? Of course we had an ideology. We didn't have to think about it. We grew up under apartheid. You couldn't be a capitalist. So we were all socialists. There was an ideology. It was working in one country, we thought. We have this idea of clarity of ideology. But today, let's look at it. We live in the 21st century. We've had a technological revolution that came at the time when I was Minister of Communications, when less people in sub-Saharan Africa, there were less phones in sub-Saharan Africa than the city of New York. This revolution has so fundamentally disrupted everything we do. How we live, how we work, how we organize, what is the nature of work. Today, of the 3 billion jobs in the world, half of them could be replaced by machines. Nanotechnology, artificial intelligence. That's the future. The future of work has changed. We have 3D printing machines that can make many of the stuff that we wear, or shoes that we walk on. That's the future. But we're still in an education system training us for jobs that will not exist. So are we debating that? We're not debating that. Why do we have to spend 7 years training to be a doctor? Why do we have to have a classroom? Okay, we need socialization. So are we debating these things about that world that is coming that is so fundamentally different, and we're locked into our own ideas? And then if you go back to the institutions that you work in, look at these institutions we work in there. They come out of the Second World War, a development system of the United Nations, of multilateralism, of identifying the critical issues of development that will guarantee peace and will be the flip side of finding solutions to war. Because the war in the Second World War was so devastating. More than 60 million people died, massive destruction. The leadership then decided that the only alternative to war breaking out was development. And they created the Declaration of Human Rights, which is fundamentally important for us. But today, our reality is that we're sitting with 60 million refugees in this world. The average stay in those refugee camps is 17 years. Now ask Jill what it means, psychologically, to grow up, and that's your life. But many of our townships and squatter camps are like that. I work in villages with workers who have been evicted from farms today, where white farmers are cutting off water to villages. That's the reality. Not this. That's the reality. That's the black pain we have to find solutions to. Now, how do you do that is a question. How do we organize ourselves? What is the clarity we need? Now, these are important issues. And for me, I think from what I'm hearing from many of you, I think the decolonization debate, decoloniality, I don't even know how to pronounce it. What's so important about that? That's the role of you. I'm expecting you all to come up. Because it is fundamentally important. Because if you look at the models of global development today, it is determined by a model that's over 2,500 years driven from the West. It constituted the basis of slavery, of colonization, and of the system of neoliberalism that we're facing. The idea that we have to conquer nature, the idea that we have to destroy indigenous knowledge systems, and we have one model, which is based on exploitation of one person of another. And that's why race became so important. Race is not a scientific concept. But in all human beings around us here, you probably find more in common between a person that looks white and black than between a black and black person. We are 99.9% identical. But why did race become so important? Because it was constituted the basis of the system we still live under, to justify the exploitation of one so-called color by another so-called color, to destroy culture. And so when you are talking about decolonization and black pain, you're talking about how we've destroyed culture. And now we're all trying to be a poor photocopy of some Hollywood celluloid movie. So that's why, for me, it's fundamentally important. It's about restoration of real dignity, and that they are equally more powerful knowledge systems than a Western model. And it must take its own role, because even within the Western model, they have crushed their own indigenous knowledge. What a great opportunity for a new narrative, where Africa can be providing the missing link to the crisis in the world that today elects a Trump or a Mario